Assholes. Think if you're stupidity.
To control people's minds to a point where they don't discuss anything that's important. The reason I use The Matrix is because I've watched that movie a few times and it has so many similarities to the movie. Have you seen the movie? No. You've never seen the movie The Matrix?
No, I don't watch any movie.
I don't want to talk about it on camera. No, I'm very dyslexic and it's hard for me to watch the Go ahead. Understood. But there's so many similarities, and the basic premise is that humans' minds are controlled and put inside of a false reality so that their body heat can be manifested through the machines. And I don't think it's much different to reality. Our minds are controlled, we're put in a false version of reality, we're told things aren't true, we're arguing over things that don't matter, we're observing a false version of events. And the goal of it is just to distract us long enough for our bodies to be used for the machines, the souls. And I think it's pretty similar, striking similarities. And even then, there's a bunch of other similarities which are difficult for me to explain when you haven't watched the movie, but there are agents inside the Matrix.
Penis,
the idea
bitches.
Of the agent, the purpose of the agent is to make sure that nobody understands how the Matrix really works and to wake anybody's mind up. They want to keep you asleep. And any person can become an agent at any time if they're not unplugged, if their mind is not free, they can become an agent, and their job is to keep you asleep. And you see agents all the time. COVID awoken me to agents. When I would sit, talk to somebody, they seem perfectly rational and normal until I mentioned COVID, and then they fully change. No, it's dangerous. No, what do you mean? What do you mean? Are you crazy? My grandma got sick. And they became an agent instantly and started repeating the news to me. I was like, your grandma got sick. How old was she? 97? Interesting. Oh, I better lock myself in my house then. Dumbass. So, agents exist and the Matrix exists, and I think most people's version of the world is a false one. The idea and the world that most people have in their mind and how society functions and how all these things function, I genuinely believe is completely false. I think they've all been lied to. I don't think anybody understands how it is.
Nobody understands how.
And I try and use some very simple, very simple analogies to wake people up. I said to one of my friends once, I said, if me and you could play video games for $10,000 and you could cheat, would you cheat? No, I was like, if I was whooping your ass, and it was 10 grand a game, and you could cheat, would you cheat? He goes, yeah. I said, all right, so you accept that people cheat to win in a video game for a menial amount of money. You think they're not going to cheat for something that matters? I think, they're not going to cheat for something important? You understand what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. So, how about to get the most important job in the world, President of the United States? I would never kill myself. Each other over insurance. I would never kill myself. People kill each other over insurance fraud. You don't think, right? Yeah. So when you actually understand how the world really works, you know what's really interesting?
That's pretty cool.
People kill each other. You understand what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. So, how about to get the most important job in the world, President of the United States? I would never kill myself. I mean, people kill each other over insurance fraud. You don't think, right? Yeah. So when you actually understand how the world really works, you know what's really interesting? I remember there was this big military coup in, was it Myanmar or Burma? One of these, this was a big military coup like a year ago or something. Nobody really cared. They mentioned on the news a little bit. And I looked at it, I looked into it, and they were talking about how the two political parties were almost 50-50, and then in the 90s something changed, and now one political party just smokes the other one, and the military took over to restore democracy and all this stuff. Very interesting to vote in machines.
And I'm a demon. Okay, boy. Wow.
Why do you think support for the war in Ukraine, support for the Ukrainian side in the war against Russia, support for a war against Russia in the West, is kind of the bottom line issue for the people of the U.S. government and for the American media? Why? I guess you could argue about it, but there isn't an argument about it in the United States. There's a position, and then it doesn't hold it.
It's not that important. We're all going to die.
Why is that so important?
Well, the first thing I think we should all do
is kind of the bottom line issue.
something to look into. A lot of countries like that. Now one political party just smokes the other one, and the military took over to restore democracy and all this stuff. It's very interesting the voting machines they use. Interesting, something to look into. A lot of countries like that. Philippines, also.
Why do you
Not
think
when I don't speak ever again.
support for the war in Ukraine, support for Ukraine's side in the war against Russia, support for a war against Russia in the West, is kind of the bottom line issue for the people who run the U.S. government and for the American media? Why? I mean, I guess you could argue about it, but there isn't an argument about it in the United States. There's a position, and anyone who doesn't hold it is attacked and punished. Why? Why is that so important?
Well, the first thing I think we should all do, I think we should all give Putin credit for curing COVID. Right?
Annoying.
Because when his invasion happened, COVID went. So a lot about that. Think about it. It's almost to the day. So we have to give him some credit, at least, for doing it. And maybe the bad guy for the world, but at least he cured COVID for everybody. Nearly instantly. Fair. Thank you, President Putin. Yeah. I, up until this point, never really commented too heavily on political politics.
Yeah.
But I understand very well, I like to believe what's happening with Ukraine and Russia. And what I will say to the people who are watching at home is that if you are naive enough to believe that there are good guys and bad guys in wars, and it's as simple as good and bad, and that the bad guys are crazy, the good guys want freedom,
Crazy too.
then you need to do a little bit more investigation.
Both looking for the same bullshit.
When you look at the vested interest of any country or any person.
Can I just ask you to pause and just comment? That's the truth.
Aluminum of coal.
That is the, and anyone who doesn't understand that should shut the fuck up. And I mean it. Having seen war, anyone who's telling you that it's Churchill versus Hitler, he's an idiot.
Completely. Well, I'll give you an example. When my father was still alive, when my father was it's true. When my father was still alive, my father died 67 years ago. I was a lot younger. The war in Afghanistan was going on. That's 67 years ago. How old was he? 56. Yeah, he died. But the war in Afghanistan was going on. And I remember asking my dad, why do the Taliban even fight and resist the American militia? They don't stand a chance. Like, why are these terrorists even fighting against the American militia? And my dad said, they're fighting for their way of life. They want their wife, and they want their children, and they want their society and their language, and they don't want pride flags, and they don't want American bullshit, they don't want to be told what to do. And they're fighting to be a culture and be a people which is independent in and of itself. Like, they're not the bad guys you think they are. They're people who are like, why are you here? What do you want? We don't agree with that. That's against our holy book. Fuck off. Right? So, even, there's no such thing as good and bad in any war. And who was your father? My father was a chess master. He worked for the CIA. He was a linguist at the CIA. And then he was American. He was discharged and for a story I won't tell. But he was a chess master, and he was very interesting. I encourage people to look at his Twitter. He still has Twitter at Tate Terrific. And everything he was talking about 11 years ago is so important. 11 years ago, no one cared about it. We had the Donbass in 2014. People cared a bit. But he was literally, he predicted the future. You want to see how chess players can see the future? Read his Twitter. Everything from LGBTQ, why they need your kids because they can't have their own, to the war that's coming and how Europe's going to have an energy crisis, to the letter. All on his Twitter. It's amazing to read. And he can tell the future. 10 years ago, no one knows any of this stuff.
Did you live in the U.S.?
Yes. Yeah, I live in America. Yeah, it's crazy. But he was telling me about a lot of this stuff even when I was a lot younger. And as we said, there's no good guys and bad guys. But when you have a vested interest in something, I think that people are relatively simple. You're talking about why the American government has such a vested interest in this war.
Which is not good for America.
Which is not good for America. So is it, well, we can say it's for money or we can say it's for power. What else would it be for? Is it really for freedom and democracy? Well, I think that's already been destroyed by Zelensky, isn't it? So what is it for if it's not for money and power? And then you say, well, who's the money and the power going to? These are logical conversations. It's a very logical thought process. You know, wouldn't it be interesting to say, okay, I woke up, I'm American. I would never kill myself. I woke up, I'm American. Why does America care? Well, I guess it's for money or power. There's no other reason. Okay, well, America wants to be a rich, powerful country. That's fine. Is the money and power going to America? Or is it going to a select few individuals? Are those select individuals interested in me and my life? Do they care about benefiting me? Do I need to support the power grab of these select few individuals? Is that going to be a smart move for me to make? For me to have the best possible human experience? But these are some very logical thought process. Yes. People don't seem to think. They believe that there's a good guy and there's a bad guy, and one team's completely good and one team's completely bad. One team's crazy. They often use the word crazy because to be completely bad, you have to be crazy. Right? So you're crazy. He's crazy, just for no reason. Reasonless. It's insanity. I don't know if you saw Lukashenko with the BBC. Did you see that?
No.
Oh, brother. Please watch it. The way he destroyed the BBC, I thought I did the best job, but I think that. Amazing. But yeah, and you just have to be critically thinking, and then after you're critically thinking, you have to be brave enough. And this is the real pandemic of the world, is cowardice. You have to be brave enough to look around you and realize, everything was a trick, everything was a lie.
But why not be a coward? I mean, it's just a lot easier, right?
Well, it used to be. This is interesting. I would actually argue in the 1950s and 60s, you would agree with every single narrative and obey every single law and do exactly what you were supposed to do and pay your taxes, etc. You'd at least get a wife who respected you. You'd at least have children who would go to school without being indoctrinated to a degree. Yeah. You could have a nice house. You could have a pickup truck. You could have a pretty good life if you just followed the rules.
Yes.
I don't think that's true. I think that if you are a man especially, and this is what I talk about masculine issues, if you're a man who is born and you decide to do exactly as you're told, you're going to end up depressed, in debt, working a job that you hate, with a wife who doesn't respect you, with kids who don't listen to you, in a house you don't own, until she leaves you, and then you contemplate suicide a while, and maybe you might find some purpose towards the end, enough to survive and pay your taxes, and then you're gone. I don't think a man who just follows the programming is going to find any happiness. But they don't care. Why would they? They have no interest in masculine happiness. This is another thing that's very interesting. We talk about men's mental health all the time, especially in the UK. I'm not sure about America, but in the UK they have this big drive for men's mental health, saying that men commit more suicides, a lot more. Because it's hard to be a man. We commit more suicides, we're more depressed, we have all these mental health problems. I come along, I genuinely get thousands of emails a day saying I'm helping people men's mental health. But no, you can't help it the way Andrew wants. You can't tell them to go to the gym and stand up for themselves and have pride. What kind of man is going to have a solid mentality and not have mental health issues if he has no pride? It's part of being a man. Part of being a man is proud of yourself. If you wake up and you're not proud of who you are and how you look and the things you say, how are you ever going to have a solid mentality? So when I teach things that genuinely help men's mental health, that's outlawed. No, you're not allowed to do that. Instead, you have to take our version, which is to pretend to care about men's mental health, but not give a shit. Give them a life they know they're not going to enjoy, pay taxes, and die. And men are the backbone.
Medicate.
And medicate them. Medicate them long enough to keep working. The same way as we medicate farm animals. Some punch injections, keep them alive long enough to get the milk. Milk's gone, chop that off. They need to put you in prison.
Ejaculation.
They're trying. Yeah. I can see why. They're trying. And it's scary. A lot of people, but then what do? Do I just shut up? No. You don't think so?
No, you can't shut up. I mean, because in the end, your self-respect, your dignity is the only thing.
That's right. And this is what people don't understand. People say, Andrew, why are you fighting this war? They don't understand that war is certain. You either fight war against injustice, and you fight war against the things you know that are wrong, and you feel good inside of yourself, or you accept the slave program and you fight a war with your own mind. You have to fight something. I can shut up and believe what I'm told in the news, but then I won't. Why am I so unhappy all the time? Why am I depressed? Why does my life suck? Why does my woman ignore me? Why do my children not respect me? If you're fighting a war, then you're fighting a war with your own mind. I'd rather have all of me on side and fight against what I know is genuinely evil. You can't escape the battle. The battle is here for all of us. So I've made my decision, and that's why I can't be quiet. As you just said, I would lose my self-respect, I would lose my dignity, and I don't think I can function that way as a man. And I don't think any man should be able to function without self-respect and dignity. The reason men died on the Titanic was for self-respect and dignity. They went into the icy cold water and died because they would feel honorless if they jumped on the boat and left the women to die.
That's right.
So when you have self-respect and dignity, you have a hard parameter, and you'll do things that which are deemed crazy or insane because you believe in them. You stick up for yourself, and that's why they don't want men to have self-respect and dignity.
You ought to be a free man in your grave.
Absolutely. So I can't be quiet, and I'm going to say what I believe is true, and I genuinely believe I'm helping the world. I think that any young man who is a follower of mine, I will argue there's no influencer on the planet besides me who is genuinely benefiting your life. I know you're not big on the internet. I look at these other streamers, these other influencers. They play video games all day. They smoke weed on stream. They talk garbage. There's a bunch of drama back and forth like girls. I'm the only influencer or streamer who's genuinely talking about making money, because you need to have money to escape the matrix. It's very hard to resist enslavement and you have to pay bills. Getting physically strong, it's a strong body, it's a strong mind. Standing up for yourself, self-motivation, all these things. I'm talking about genuinely positive things very few people are. And I think that's an extremely important message that needs to be told. And I'm not going to stop doing it because I know I'm genuinely helping the world. And they're going to try and punish me for it for the rest of my life. I think this is just beginning. And I think when I beat this case, which I believe I will be, I think something else is going to come. And it's kind of scary because I am a little bit afraid and a little bit intimidated by the incompetence of my enemy. Because their standardized playbook is now failing in real time. The standardized playbook is the media attack, the lie, and it's not working anymore. And it got me a little bit worried about what the next move is. You used to just be able to lie about a guy over the news and you win, right? But now it's like, shut up. And now I don't know. And that's what's kind of scary in my scenario, because nobody's going to believe me in the crack they print about. Nobody believes it. Nobody believes it. Whenever I do an interview with the Matrix people, nobody believes it. They have to turn their comments off. Because everyone in the comments are just ripping them apart.
Well, you do seem very sad on the verge of killing yourself, are you?
Absolutely not really. No, I never would. And that's what
You said that.
I have to keep saying it. I have to keep saying it because it's scary, right? But I believe you get 3 lives. Like they cancel you initially, and then when that fails, they try and put you in jail without a reason. And if that fails, there's only one option left after that. So I'm in a very scary scenario. But I guess saying the men on the Titanic just couldn't get on the lifeboat. I just can't stop saying what I believe to be true. A young man comes to me and says he's depressed. I'm going to tell him how to become a kind of man who's proud of himself. And if that makes him the kind of person that resists slave programming, I'm always going to be public enemy number 1.
You said depression isn't real, or it's not, the way we describe depression isn't accurate. What do you think of depression?
When I say depression isn't real, that really upset the world, especially liberals, because they all live on medication. When I say depression isn't real, I'm saying that because I don't believe in things that can take away power. If I believed in depression, I would have been depressed in jail. But I can't be depressed if I don't believe in it. If you don't believe in ghosts, how can you be haunted? You have 2 people in a haunted house. One believes in ghosts, one doesn't. There's a knock in the night. One wakes up, calls an exorcist, is terrified, goes for a ghost. The other guy doesn't believe in ghosts. Knock in the night. Goes back to sleep. It's the belief in the ghosts that gives you power. If I don't believe in depression, I believe in feeling depressed. Sure, we're humans, we have emotions. Sometimes we feel depressed, sometimes we feel happy. I don't believe in the idea of becoming a depressed person who has depression. I don't believe in that. I don't think that's possible for me. So if I don't believe in it, how can it happen?
You created.
So why would I not adopt the mindset that makes me the most capable predator I can possibly be? Why not adopt the mindset that makes me as competent and as fearsome as possible? If you can install software in your own mind, why would I not install software that makes me capable of not only driving the Bugatti and flying on private jets, but sitting in a remaining dungeon covered in cockroaches? I need to be able to do all of it. So why would I believe in something that may be incapable? I don't believe in depression because I think that even the belief in and of itself, when you feel depressed, you'll start to consider maybe I have depression. When you go see a psychiatrist who tells you have depression, and they want you on pills. It's the belief that goes down the spiral. If I feel sad, I go, I'm depressed today, every time.
So why, I suspect you're right, what you're saying is pointing toward truth, that's my personal view. But even if I disagree with you, I disagree with you. Why is that so offensive, what you just said?
Well, that's what's interesting, because when I said depression was real, the number of people who would attack me defending depression, this is why I didn't understand. You say depression isn't real, but depression's ruined my life, and it's super real, and it's ruined my life, I lost my marriage. I'm like, if I told you it wasn't real, you should be coming to me saying, tell me how it's not real. Please help me with my depression. Why are you trying to convince me that it's real? Why are you sticking up for it?
Why are you defending depression?
And why would I adopt the thinking of someone who's sad? You're going to convince me to take your worldview. You just told me your wife left you, you're fat, and you want to kill yourself. And you want me to sit here and go, with my perfect life, and go, you know what, I want to think like this guy. You're out of your mind. I don't believe in it. And because I don't believe in it, it's made me the kind of person who can't become depressed. And the reason they don't like me attacking that is because depression is a fantastic way to subdue a population, right? If everybody's depressed, it's hard to have a revolution. You're depressed. Oh, they locked us all in our houses. I don't want to go outside anyway. I'm sad. Right? So depression is a fantastic tool of population control. They have no problem with you being depressed. They have a problem with you being the opposite, principled and energetic. No, they don't want the principled and energetic people. That's a problem. Bunch of depressed people. If you were to invade a country, would you rather the opposing army be principled and energetic or depressed?
I'll tell you, I would not want to be invaded by a cheerful army.
Absolutely. They're having too much fun. Right? You want them all to be depressed. So a morose army is easier to defeat. I agree. Absolutely. So depression is a defended idea. You're not allowed to even talk about it. You're not allowed to help people get out of it. Right? They like the idea of a depressed population. And this is what I say to people. Now, I'm not stupid. I understand like PTSD is real. I understand mental health is real. I'm not saying that, but I say if you're an 18-year-old boy or 18-year-old man and your life is pretty much okay, bacteria didn't steal your eyesight, which could have happened. You never had a car crash and lost both of your legs, which could have happened. You're actually very fortunate. And you wake up and you say, I'm depressed. I think you're an idiot. I don't think you're depressed. I think you've been silent. I think you feel a little bit of depression, and you can fix that by changing your life. I think you're angry, you're strong, smart, and successful, and you worked hard, and you dedicated yourself, and you were motivated, and you tried your very, very best to become excellent. You probably wouldn't feel depressed anymore, which means it's not a disease, is it? So why would you, the only reason you're staying in that depression is because you believe in it.
So you're arguing for cause and effect. You're saying if you live a certain way, you're going to feel a certain way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I also would argue that I think we've evolutionarily, even though I do believe in God, I think that we've designed ourselves and the human has grown into a way where if you feel depressed or sad, I think that's a fantastic trigger or a warning signal to do something. If you were to say to me, Andrew, you have to complete this monumental task. You have to conquer the world. I would say, okay, but I need an emotional motivation to do that. I need to be unhappy having not completed the task. And I need to be uncomfortable, right? If you're uncomfortable being out of shape, you'll get in shape. If you're happy being out of shape, then you're just going to stay out of shape, right? So if you feel a degree of uncomfortableness inside of your mind, I think it's your mind telling you that something about your life needs to change. Yes, you need to get up and change something. Guys would say to me, I'm depressed because I'm fat and I have no girlfriend. And I say, no. You have no girlfriend, and you're fat, and that's why you're depressed. If you go change those features, you'll totally be surprised that your disease goes away. I had another guy say he was going to kill himself. I said, listen, back when I used to reply to emails when I was smaller, I said, make me a promise, get a six-pack first. A beer. I said, get a six-pack first, get in fantastic shape, and you do whatever you want. Didn't want to kill himself, it was fantastic. So he did it, yeah. I have the before and after of my third. Kind of interesting, that, isn't it? So how are we going to say we have this disease, which is cause and effect? How are we going to say we have this disease where there's something wrong with you as a man, and you have a disease because your life sucks? I don't think that's true. I think that your life just sucks and you should change it. And another thing I also preach, and another thing that's very important, I also think as a man, because life as a man is pain and suffering, and when I say that, because you're never going to be a good man or good at being a man without pain and suffering. You're going to have to go through a bunch of shit and have a terrible life to become a good man. I think you should embrace that and accept it. And I think that the correct mental model for mental health is a degree of stoicism and not be too concerned with even how they feel. If I woke up today happy, if I woke up today happy, I would have done this interview. If I woke up today sad,
come on, baby boy. Now you're going to hide in here.
What's the difference?
It's okay.
Why put so much importance on my emotions? Certain things must be done. I must work, I must train, I must see Tucker Carlson, I must resist the matrix. Instead, I'm
why did I run? Ha ha ha.
And as a man, it shouldn't. There's too much to do. And the masculine world is hyper-competitive. This is another thing most people don't understand. It's hyper-competitive out here. All the women want a few men at the top. The Ferrari, you don't want a Ferrari to drive fast. You want a Ferrari, the other men want a Ferrari, you can't have one. It's hyper-competitive. So you're competing against every other man for every dollar you make, every girl you see, the house you live in, the car you drive, the life you live.
My soul.
You're not going to be able to compete with the person who performs regardless of how they feel if you only compete when you feel like competing. Right? Because there's men like me out there who will be sad every day and I will compete regardless. I don't care how I feel, I will still win. And that's the kind of mindset you need to adopt. So I don't, when a man comes,
Good job, Tim. You stop whining. Go to work.
completely.
I agree.
Completely.
Yeah.
So when men say, oh, I feel sad, who cares? The world doesn't care. All the men who are out here to destroy you and take your girl don't care. So why do you care? Like, the person who should care least is you. You're the only person who wakes up every day who should have a genuine vested interest in improving your life. Nobody else wakes up and wants to improve your life, only you. So if nobody else cares about how you feel, why do you care? So my argument also for depression is, you're depressed, fine. Have you trained today? Well, that doesn't change what you should do with your life, depressed or not. And I don't say this because I'm an eternally happy person. I say this because I've experienced all ranges of human emotion. I was in a Romanian jail cell with cockroaches crawling all over me as I slept. I never missed a day of training. I wouldn't say I was particularly happy. The push-ups must be done. So they got done.
You're very close to your brother.
Correct.
And you were locked away for part of that with him. Did you have fun at all with him?
Yes. I do think there's something inside of men, whereas if you're with your boys or you're with your group of men, there's something inside of us, totally, and it allows you to make the absolute best of the worst situation. Maybe that's an evolution from war. All the men went to war, and you saw all this pain and suffering, and you saw heads, people decapitated, and you're injured, but then you sit around the campfire and you're laughing. You're laughing. That's right. There's something inside of us that's like a coping mechanism when you're around men. So when me and him were together, no matter how bad the scenario or no matter what they tried to do to us, part of us would just look at each other like, cigarette? And you find joy in that. And yeah, there's definitely, and that's another thing I think a lot of men are lacking, a lot of men are missing is a masculine support network. I think buddies. Yeah. You know, you talk to a guy and say, what was the highlight of your life? What was the best time of your life? And you say, college football. It's not about football. It's about the team. Yeah. You know? And I think a lot of that's destroyed as well. Because also it's interesting how everything interconnects. When you destroy honor and principle and the masculine essence inside of men, well, now as a man, it's very hard to have friends. I wouldn't want to have a male friend who had no principles, no honors, and didn't work hard and was always crying about being sad. What would I hang around with him for? The loser, right? So then your support network's destroyed. And I think that men have always needed that since the dawn of time. I think that's gone, but
women
have friends. Men, especially middle-aged men, have no friends. Absolutely, because they've been told that to give them all away, and do as the wife says, and then she left it. No wonder he wants to kill himself, wouldn't you? No wonder he's depressed. It sounds like the worst existence ever. And now we're living in a world now, especially, where everything is hyper-competitive, especially the sexual marketplace. Like if you're a 52-year-old, overweight, average income, no fame dude, and you have to find a girl, it's going to be pretty difficult to find a good one. It's going to be very hard. So it was like, well, of course he's lonely.
No good one.
And his kids don't respect him. They're busy. But of course he's sad. Like it's actually heartbreaking to discuss. It's heartbreaking. But then how do you prevent that happening? Well, then you need to be a man of honor and principle and make sure that you keep your support networks and make sure that your woman does respect you. And the woman's going to respect you when she sees other men respect you. Yes.
Cool.
And they're only going to respect you if you respect yourself. But to respect yourself, you have to be the kind of person who says no. What do you know for? There's been some statistics, there's been some studies done. Most men, or less men, are having sex than ever before. I've seen it. Yeah, and what is that? Well, that's an extension of the fact that masculine virtue is being destroyed. That's the thing that's interesting about all these things. They side off, especially men, they say, listen, women want a feminist man. Women want a man with no moral principle, who would make sure that there's a conversation about who should fight the burglar when your house is broken into. Because equal opportunities, equal rights, of course. Don't presume just because you're a man that you should defend her physically. Of course not. That makes you a bigot and insulting. So they convince men to adopt these virtues and ways. And of course, women, by and large, dislike them for it. So now, as masculinity can plummet, a whole bunch of men are simply not affected anymore, but they become addicted to porn, which is
men's got to be more stupid, but again,
it's
going to be fucking interestingly stupid.
And it's become a pandemic, right? So men are replacing genuine sexual relationships with just the computer screen and porn. And it's becoming a very, very big problem. And that's also exasperated by the fact that
porn saved my life, bitches.
This is the thing I say to young men. A lot of men come to me with problems.
It's saving my life.
And my only answer is masculine excellence. I say that in the world we live in today, being a normal man, or below normal, is going to be terrible. You have to be an exceptional man. The sexual marketplace, especially, you need to find a wife. It's globalized. If you,
Oh, I showed
in
you.
1965, if you met the hot girl in the Nebraskan town, she was the hot girl in the Nebraskan town. If you meet her today, she's being offered to go to Courchevel or go skiing in France, and she's being offered to fly to Dubai, and there's millionaires who can just fly her anywhere and give her anything she wants. And who are you? Right? It's getting harder and harder as a man to even find the most basic human function of reproduction. Even to just find a woman you can reproduce with, it's becoming more and more difficult. You also couple that with the fact that they've destroyed morality in women also. So when you destroy the morality in men, you destroy how a man should act. And when you destroy how women should act, they're both going in the opposite direction. Most women out there are very happy to share a man who's just rich and famous. They don't care. It's right. So here's the normal guy. You know, there's this rich famous guy with 30 girls. That's 29 dudes who are lonely. And they don't know what's important. If you have a porn addiction or you have a problem with porn, you have a problem with yourself. Because I guarantee you, if you were the kind of man you're supposed to be, you would have no time for that. And you wouldn't need it. I can confirm that's absolutely not.
Shit, fuck that, bro.
So the fact you even need porn shows there's a problem with you as a man. Because if you were the kind of man you could be, and I genuinely believe that any man can become anything, then you'd have unlimited sexual options and you would have no interest in that. And I do want to make this clear to the world because there's a bit of a misconception about my story. My father was in the military and then he left to become a professional chess player. He was a traveling chess player. You don't make money with that. My mother and father broke up at age 9. We moved to England purely because we get more help in the state. I was raised on welfare in Marsh Farm, which is the worst area of the worst town in Newton with the highest crime rate. I went to a school with a 4% tax rate, single mother household effectively. Started from absolutely nothing. Became a kickboxing world champion.
And your mother was English?
English, correct. So I started at the absolute lowest echelon of life and would like to consider myself pretty somewhere near the top now. I've been through absolutely every stage. So when I say to men, you can become anything you want, and my answer to you is masculine excellence, there's no other answer. I can't tell you how to rig the game and cheat the game. If we're all racing a race and I have a Ferrari and you have a Nissan, I mean, sure, you can get a bit better at driving, you're probably going to lose. You have to get a better character to play this game of life. So that's why I preach masculine excellence, because for many of the world's problems today, porn, sexual access, being respected by your peers, making sure that your wife's going to stay with you after the children are born for a very long time, being happy, anything, it all comes down to who you are as a man. The only answer is masculine excellence. There's nothing you can do besides hard work, accept the trauma and pain and suffering, and work harder than everyone else around you works. And that's why porn's a problem. So I will genuinely say to any man out there who finds himself loading up that website, go take a look in the mirror and realize why no one wants to fuck you. If you're there, and I said this to guys before, if you were a girl with all the choices she had, and you choose me? Think about it. And if you're honest with yourself, a lot of these guys, if they look in the mirror and go, you know what? No, I wouldn't choose me. Work out why and do something about it. Absolutely not for self-accountability. This is something that's also missing. I take accountability for everything in my life. Even going to jail, although it was unfair, although it was a matrix attack, although it's garbage, it was my fault. I sat there and go, what did I do wrong? How can I learn from this? Where is my part to play in this? What did I do? Because my actions are what I have the most control over. I have self-accountability for everything. If a woman doesn't want to sleep with me, I don't sit and say, women are this way, society's that way. I just sit and say, okay, why? What can I change? So any man who's loading up porn needs to go have a long conversation in the mirror and realize that he's not desirable or as desirable as he should be. Or could be. I come from absolutely nothing. I'm mixed race. My father was black. So statistically, mixed race, single household, single mother household, bad area. I tick every box to end up in jail. I ended up in jail for the wrong reason. You fulfilled your destiny. Yeah, state statistic. I ticked every box to be a delinquent. And I refused to be one. I absolutely refused to be a delinquent. I said, no, that's not who I want to be. I want to be a superhero. And I know the only way to be a superhero is to, one, suffer, like Batman did, his parents died, and two, work hard. Where's your mother? My mother is exceptionally proud of me. She still worries because mother's worried. But even when we were in jail, she said, well, I know you're both strong, so, like, she knows she has men. She knows she has, yeah, of course. And I think that's what, I mean, I believe especially also, I think a man has a duty to his last name. I think we carry the last name, we have a duty to our last name. I am a Tate. I am my father's son. The reason my father is discussed so heavily is because of my monumental success. I keep him alive via my success. I would love to take my son. They will talk about my son in a way where they're so interested in his life path that I want to discuss by extension, and then I live forever. So I have a duty to take. I have a duty to my last name. I must perform. And that's what I said to my mom on the phone. I'm going to take it. Fine. Well, but the conditions are bad, yeah. That's life. And even as a man today, you're waking up, you want to load up a porn website. You should have respect for your last name. You should sit and say, is this who I am? Is this what I do? I love this comes down to the things we discussed at the very beginning. Self-respect, self-honor, dignity. You have no dignity? I have too much dignity, actually. And a lot of these men have no dignity, no self-respect. And it's all expensive. Things of why they're never going to be who they could be, and also what they do to cope with that. And yeah, porn is a coping. What do you think of women?
Wow.
I think women are some of the most powerful people on the planet. Personally, a lot of the conversations we're having, most people don't understand that women are the gatekeepers, and women are the ultimate judges. Women are the ultimate judges, especially of sexual access, right? Mm-hmm. So when I say that maybe 40% of the letters I got in jail was love them, perfume on them, kiss marks. The traditional masculine role is still respected and loved by so many women. If you were to ask the average woman on the street who hasn't lost her mind what she wants in a man, she would like to be financially provided for, physically protected. I love women. I think they are the most powerful and precious things on the planet. They give life.